I love them, but I won't sign them. It's the truth. I'm a guy, you know. I mean, who are you kidding, right? I like girls. And by the way, so does Ed. Contrary to any twisted beliefs. Yes. Okay. Okay. Oh, wow. I've never thought about that before. Kugashi doesn't strike me as the dating sort. Come here. Wow, this will be interesting. What's your name? Isla. Isla. I don't know if my mother would approve. But can I take you out for ice cream? As soon as I whoop Goku's butt. Which of course never happens. Yes, in the Super Duper Risible Ranger shirt. Hey, listen, you know what, you guys? We have a goal. We want to reach 10,000. So if you are not a member, it doesn't cost you anything.
It's over 9,000!
Yes, listen, if you guys go home and join and get your friends to join, we're at 7,500 now. So it won't take long before we can say, it's over 9,000! Absolutely. That's our goal. Yes. How did I get into voice acting is the question. Quite by accident. I've done a lot of theater, you guys. I've done an awful lot of acting work in theater and some television stuff and some film stuff. And I was living in Houston, where I still do live, and I was working on a video production with a good friend of mine named John Grimion. Sure you've seen his name before. He's done tons of work in anime. Well, he was working with this little teeny company called ADV Films. You could fit ADV on this platform at the time. We're talking like 12, 13, 14 years ago when they started, 15 years ago. Well, John and I were working together, and John said, hey, you got a lot of experience in acting, don't you? And I said, yeah, tons of it. And he said, you ought to go and audition for this place called ADV. They do this Japanese animation stuff, and they need actors. And I was like, really? In Houston? That's cool. Never even occurred to me. I mean, I've been watching cartoons and animated stuff all my life, and it never occurred to me that the people that are voicing it are actually acting the characters. So I went and auditioned, and I got cast as Vega in Street Fighter 2. And I was like, this is really cool. And so I did that show, and then another show came along, and I got cast again. I think maybe it was like, may have been Nadesco or Gasaraki. I can't remember some of those early shows. And then the next show, and the next show, and the next show, and I just kept getting cast, and then I did enough shows that I was invited to some conventions. And so I went to some conventions, and I met some people from Funimation in Dallas. And they said, hey, you want to come up and play a character for a Dragon Ball movie?
You should have said no!
Yeah, he's like, you should have said no. But if there were no Broly, there probably wouldn't have been any Edward. So, I mean, because that Broly was the first thing I did for Funimation. And then I got cast in Yu Yu Hakusho. And then Kitty Ray. And then Case Closed. And then Spiral. And then Full Metal Alchemist. And then Tsubasa. And then, you know what I'm saying? So, and during that time then, after I was working with Dallas and Houston for a while, I met people that worked in LA. And they're like, hey man, you should come move to LA. And I'm like, well, I don't want to live in LA, but I would love to come and work with you. And so I pushed really hard to get the opportunity to work with them out there. I started getting cast in some video games. And then finally, I did a couple of characters for a show called Mare. And then finally, I got cast as Ikaku in Bleach. And so little by little, I'm doing more out there. So that's how I started. And I will tell you without apology, I give all the glory to God. I am so blessed, and so I never planned it. I never imagined it. It was purely a gift. Thank you, guys. I mean it. I mean it. It was nothing I could have orchestrated. I would have never imagined. I was signing autographs at Anime Expo last year with Monica Rial and Chris Patton, and I looked at Monica and I said, and the line was as far as you could see, and I looked at Monica and I said, can you believe this? I mean, we started out voice acting together. Monica and Chris and I started at the same time, over 10 years ago. I said, we started in a closet at ADV, this little teeny fledgling company in Houston, and look at this. Who would have ever imagined? And I see this as an opportunity to not just create characters that you guys enjoy, but even more than that, in venues like this, to interact with you and to share some of the blessing that I feel, the love that I feel from above with you. So to me, it's a much deeper. It takes on a much deeper meaning than just, "Ooh, I'm a voice actor," you know. And, you know. So I love these opportunities to interact with you, and it was all just a gift, just a gift. I take no credit for it. Yes.
My sister is interested in graphic design, and we know you're a graphic designer as part of your thing. Could you suggest any sort of courses or programs that she can use in order to further herself?
Well, sure. I eat, sleep, and breathe Photoshop. I just love Photoshop. Love it. I love doing things to Travis's pictures. You guys, has anyone ever seen Travis Stein? Years ago, I took a picture of Travis and I made him look like Frankenstein. And I put him in this like a poster. And then there was another one. I took the Addams Family Values movie poster and I made Travis lurch. Hey, where are you going? Come back here. Photoshop. To be honest with you, I've never had any training at all in graphic design. I've always loved art and drawing and painting and sculpting, and I had a lot of friends. Remember I told you I wrote music for ad agencies? I had a lot of friends that worked at ad agencies that were graphic designers, and I would stand there and sit and talk with them and watch them working on ads and designs and stuff, and I'm like, man, this is cool. And I got Photoshop and I started working with it and developing and understanding the program and a creative way of doing things with that program. And so that, I mean, you know what? In my opinion, you learn by doing. You can get all the training in the world, and classroom is great, but you learn the most by actually doing it. People who are like, you know, how do I learn to write songs? Just do it. Just start making up songs, and they may be crummy at first, and they'll get better and better and better. When you started drawing, how many of you were artists? The first thing you did was not the best thing you did, was it? Exactly. You're like, oh Lord, no, I burned that. The more you do it, the better you get. I go every once in a while, somebody will have me sign a show that I did like 10 years ago. And for just a moment, I'll imagine myself when I did that and be like, oh man. I was green at voice acting when I did some of those shows. And occasionally I'll hear a clip from one, I'll be like, oh man, I'm so bad. I was so new to it. But the more you do it, the better you get. So, as with anything, graphic design, whatever, just do it, do it, do it, do it, and you just get better and better.
Thank you.
Yes. What about the striped hammer? How could you pass it up? You're next. Has anyone seen a black Razor cell phone with a picture of Hitsugaya on it?
I love it.
Where?
We gave it to the sound guy.
Oh, Ahmed?
Yeah.
Ahmed. He's out making calls to Philippines right now. On your phone. Yeah, I got this phone. Put me through to Hong Kong, please. He'll be back, so it's safe. Yes?